There are certain moments in your life when you move from childhood to adolescence. It could be going to high school, getting your first job, or seeing your parents split up. It could also be finding your own music. I was raised on Parliament Funkadelic and Cameo, but when I first heard Eric B. and Rakim's Paid in Full and NWA Straight Outta Compton, it just hit me. It was like a rite of passage, discovering my own music and becoming my own person. But there's also another rite of passage for me and those that look like myself. It's having the talk. For those who aren't familiar, the talk is a conversation that black parents have with their children about the realities of race in America. When a child is 11, 10, or 12, they may not understand. But when the kid turns 13 and becomes physically bigger, their world changes. Growing older in this country puts you at risk. Your childhood ends. Your mom and dad may tell you things such as, you won't be able to get away with running around in the store or anywhere in public because you will be blamed. When you're walking through a white or rich neighborhood, expect to be stopped, period. If you're driving, you can't have 3 friends in the car with you. You can't roll 4 deep. And if you're in public with your friends and something happens, be prepared to be the one that they blame. For some, this is the first time that they've ever had an explicit conversation about race. I remember some of my friends telling me, man, my dad was talking serious about being black, or my mom told me about racism and it made me think. This is an introduction to the world we live in. Growing up, my parents didn't talk a lot about race. We were just taught that black and white people are the same and to judge a person by their character and not by the color of their skin. Still, I would hear things such as, the black man has it hard in this country, or, as a black woman, you're always looked at as being loud. When I turned 15 and began to learn how to drive, my mother became worried. I thought it was because I was a horrible driver, and I kind of still am, but it was something else. I remember one day my mom wanted to talk to me about something. I could tell this was an important conversation by her demeanor. My mom told me, try to be home before the streetlights come on so you can avoid any trouble. When you're driving through those small towns, be careful because sometimes they may have their own laws. Don't have the music up too loud because that could draw attention to you. My mom then told me how to act when I'm pulled over by the police. Not if, but when. She said, your hands need to be on the steering wheel at 10 and 2. When the officer approaches your window, you greet them with a yes sir or ma'am. Be calm, polite, because you want to put them at ease. Don't be jumpy or move, just be calm. I remember my mother telling me this, me thinking, damn, this is what I got to do to stay alive? My mom wasn't a judgmental person, but she was raising her boys to be race conscious, so she had to be race conscious. By giving me the talk, she was explaining that the playbook is different for me. Her words were heavy, weighed down by the exorbitant rates for mass incarceration for black men in America. For every 100,000 men locked up, 8,000 of them are black. When I got older, my father taught me to refuse rugged individualism or pulling yourself up by your bootstraps. I realized as a black man, it is my responsibility to help those that come after me. I stand on the shoulder of giants like Malcolm X and Ida B. Wells, so it's a must. Around 2014, I became a mentor to a young black kid we'll call Brandon. He was smart, inquisitive, handsome, and a little goofy. Kind of reminds me of someone I know. Being a big brother was something I always wanted to do, to help black kids in any way I could. One day, Brandon and I were walking, and the subject of Trayvon Martin comes up, the young black kid killed in Florida. Brandon was asking me things about Trayvon Martin, and I can tell by the look on his face, it was, am I next? We then had a really honest and deep conversation about race and being black in America. As Brandon was telling me about his experiences, it's like I was taken back to the conversation with my mother when we had the talk. I just told Brandon, look man, we black. There's just certain shit we're gonna have to do. Our lives are different than white folks. Brandon, feeling dejected, said, that's not fair. I told him, life ain't fair. This is the cost of blackness. Everything I'm telling you has been told to me and has been told to my parents. It's what it is. What my responsibility is to prepare you for what's really going on out there. I'm not saying it's gonna save you, but hopefully it'll help you. I wish Brandon's rite of passage was finding a song that hit him in the heart the way it did mine when I was his age, but it wasn't. It was me giving him the talk. We then walked around some more and had a donut because what kid doesn't like sugar, right? But seriously, after I dropped Brandon off at his place, I stood outside of his building and just thought for a while. Sadness ran through my mind like, damn, another generation gotta go through this. I'll never forget how that made me feel. In a conversation with renowned poet Nikki Giovanni, writer James Baldwin said, what we have to do is make it possible for others to live. That is the only reason to be here. Receiving and giving the talk is mandatory in our communities. We have to let our kids know what's really going on out there. For black kids anywhere, from the south side of Kansas City to Ferguson, New York, Los Angeles, Atlanta, Chicago, the talk must be had. Whistling Vivaldi or telling kids not to wear hoodies will not save them. Black boys are disproportionately arrested at higher rates than anyone. The National Women's Law Center reports that black girls are suspended from school 5.5 more times than their white classmates. The talk is not about scaring them, but preparing them. In a conversation I had with someone about this subject one day, she asked me, in giving kids a talk, do we shorten their childhoods to prolong their life? I said, yeah. The names of Alton Sterling, Tamir Rice, Sandra Bland, and Akai Gurley still ring through our mind, proving that, unfortunately, I will pass along the talk until we no longer need it. My name is LeRon Barton, and I'm a speaker who dares.